Hey, welcome back to the AlexAndMo PT podcast. Alex, it feels like we've been on hiatus for a while.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we had done a little extra work leading up to September because both Mo and my birthdays were September, so we kind of made it a thing to where we didn't have to really work that hard in September. So it was kind of nice, but definitely was itching to get back to our live weekly podcast content. So yeah, just rearing to go and
And
for
life, life.
last week's we had to take a little bit of a break. Obviously, Mother Nature wanted to come by and wish me a happy birthday, 40th birthday. So,
Well,
uh,
you know what? God was just trying to say you're a force to be reckoned with. So,
hey, absolutely. You know, you gotta take the good with everything. So, yeah. Luckily, with that, we got off very lightly compared to our neighbors down south in the Fort Myers area, as they were hit pretty badly with it. Uh, we had some down trees and I lost power for a couple of days, but nothing more than that. So definitely very grateful and blessed that my four walls and my roof are still intact, and my family and everybody's as well. So everybody that reached out, thank you very much. I do appreciate you guys being concerned and checking in with me. But again, just happy to be back and kind of finish off the year with some good stuff. And PT month is this month.
yeah.
Kind of what we'll be hitting on today. Just some different things in what's going on in the profession, good, bad, a little bit of everything.
Yep. So, you've been a PT for what, 14 years, Alex?
Yeah, so I graduated in 2008. So yeah, 14 years. And it's funny, I was having a conversation with a patient not too long ago, and I was like, when I said 14 years, I'm like, that's crazy because it doesn't feel that long. Um, but that's a good chunk of time there that I've been doing this, and it's been a ride. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I mean, there's definitely days where I'm like, today's a tough one, and having to deal with, stuff and things that happen when dealing with, some of the bigger hospital groups and things of that nature. But, all in all, it's been an amazing ride. I shared with you off before we got on camera. I had received a text from a patient's daughter last night, and I had been working both the dad and the mom. Uh, just general strengthening, balancing. But they went to a grandson's wedding over the weekend, and they were able to dance and enjoy the party, and got to spend time with their family, which at some point was in doubt if they were able to do those things. Just difficulties, just kind of moving around the house. So to get the text of grateful and thank you, it's why I do this, and it's why I'm sure you and the rest of our there do it, because we enjoy helping. We enjoy being there to support people and help them in those big life journeys.
Yes, definitely. I was told I was asked first by one of them if I'm always happy. And, that's not necessarily the case, but I'm big on not, if I'm having a not so good day, never to let my patients ever sense that. So I try to be a ray of light. One of them actually told me to never stop being that ray of light, because we're in home health, and most of the times we are some of the only people that they get to interact with. So um, I'm blessed that I am in the profession that I love. On Saturday, I saw a young gentleman where I went to get this done, and his brand is no work, play always. And I asked him to explain what it meant, and he's like, "Look, if you're doing a job or you're in a career that you like, it's not work. You you just play hard all the time." And I feel that's what you and I do. Yes, it can get tiring. Yes, you can experience some burnout and frustration dealing with the big insurance companies and other competitors. But at the end of the day, the end result is the clients, the feedback they get when they achieve their goals. So um, I've been enjoying the ride so far, um, and I think there's good a lot more good to come. But we still have to work on the stuff that we're having issues with. And we're going to be collaborating with Scott to talk about tuition, the high rise in tuition. We are also going to be collaborating with some other PT podcasts, hopefully PT Think Tank, sorry, PT Pancast with Jimmy, who was very instrumental in getting us, pushing us to get started. So, and a great example for us PT podcasters out here as well. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just with a lot of other things, we the month of October is designated as physical therapy month, but obviously, we ourselves and colleagues and peers are, 24/7, 365 out there working and trying to improve our profession. We've had some of our younger colleagues, some still finishing up their PT programs and stuff like that, and that's the future of our profession. So as well as leading ourselves, we have to support them that they fight and continue to things. I mean, we've definitely have a lot of good things going for us in this profession. Um, I think we've got opportunity, and I've mentioned this before on separate episodes. Like we're at a crossroads. I feel where either really well, or it could get really bad, and it just depends on how we decide as a profession that we want to move forward. And it's definitely very refreshing to see some of our younger colleagues who have that fight, who have that fire in them, such as Braylon is one of them, Danielle, past guests that we've had, to see them continuing to kind of push the profession and do because I'm into working out and taking care of themselves, but they carry that same attitude in working with their clients and learning and doing all that stuff. It's definitely refreshing to see all because get caught up in the negative. I mean, we've discussed the negative many times on here, so a lot of good stuff going out there. I mean, this is obviously the month highlighted. So if anybody, any of our viewers, if you come across good story, something positive about physical therapy, something you've done, colleague, whatever, share it with us because we want to amplify that. We want to spread that positive. We need to get the positive out there. Myself included, I've come down hard sometimes on our profession in on our episodes, but with it being PT month, I just think we amplify the good because there is a lot of good. It's real easy to get caught up in the negative, the bad, what's not working, what's not going right, what things of that nature. But we're still out there helping a ton of people, making a difference in a lot of people's lives, and we need to share those stories.
very, very true. It's so easy to criticize um, and point fingers. The hard work comes with taking actionable steps to definitely make things better. So we do have to do a better job at that and try to drown out the negative voices that we see on social media as well. Yes, there are issues, but we shouldn't be sitting back and waiting for the national organization to solve stuff. Do grassroots stuff. Start in the classroom. Start in your own clinic. Um, just doing little steps, making sure that your patients know that they're being treated well. Those are simple measures that you could take, and that's what I'm encouraging people to do.
Again, I think we just need to support our colleagues, support our peers, just come together to amplify all the good that's going on, because that's how truly we're going to get to where we want to be. I mean, I don't think anybody gets into this profession with the hopes that the profession struggles, or that the profession is not recognized, as a leader in the healthcare field, because we ultimately are. Um, but we need to come together. I think ultimately, if we can't come together, it's going to be very difficult, a very uphill battle, um, to do that. So, yeah, we've got a lot of good people out there doing a lot of hard work, volunteering their time and efforts in, working with the National Association, the APTA, but also at the state level. I mean, I know you've done some work over there in Maryland, and again, I know we've got some people, right, that I can think off the top of my head. Can't remember names right now, but I see avatars. I know we've got people working real hard in Colorado, and some of those other states. So we need to keep that up. We need to keep that up. We need to amplify. We need to support.
And don't forget PTDF service. So if you have yet to participate in that, you can join the event. It's not too late. You can join a team that's already active in trying to do a service. I know Mike Ukor in Maryland is doing something with Steps for Africa. So if you are in Maryland and you're interested in participating in PTDF service, reach out to Mike Ukor. And there are others in other states too that you can participate in as well. Um, we are not really begging for you to join the association. We don't know what everybody's are, and I spoke to a few students, and the general feedback that I got is that they wish they had done more research before they got into physical therapy, not knowing that it would cost this much and take this long to get the degree. So I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, no, full disclosure, I've had people come up to me, and even the other day I was at the dentist, and the dental assistant, got talking, what I did, and I told her I was a physical therapist. She's like, "Oh, I have a niece or a nephew is in high school, and they want to do physical therapy." And I said, "Don't get me wrong, I love what I do, but just have them research it, have them look into it, because it's it's not always what is portrayed." Meaning, we spend a lot of time and money in schooling to be able to graduate with our doctorates, uh, and then the amount of money that on average a therapist makes, again, keeping in mind that location, setting, and all those things factor into what one can make as a licensed clinician. Um, that break even point is several years down the road, right? So I I agree. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I mean, with everything going up across the board, you know, you go to the grocery store, you're spending more than what you used to spend to get the same amount, if not less. I got two little boys who pretty much are going to eat me out of house and home. So all of that costs more. So we don't like to necessarily factor everything about money, but money makes the world go round, and you have to keep that in mind when you're making decisions about how you're going to spend your money in getting an education, compared to what you're going to be able to make after you've acquired this education, right? So, and that's all going to change. If you're a single or female, your requirements, your responsibilities are going to be a lot different than the married therapist. That's going to be different than the married therapist with kids. And then depending on how many kids you have, that's going to change the equation, right? So it's a very different for everybody. So all I tell people, and what I told my dental assistant, is like, just do your homework. Just figure out what it is that's going to work best for you. Like I said, I love what I do. I make a good amount of money, but what I make is not the norm, you know. And I also had to grind, work, bust my butt for several years to get to that point. You know, as we mentioned earlier, I've been doing this for 14 years. Still blows my mind. I don't think it's that long. But you don't just come out of the gate making six figures, right? So yeah, people got to do their homework. People got to do their homework. I love what I do. I love helping people, as I'm sure everybody who starts out in this profession likes to do. But eventually, life situations, you know, put stress and make things change a little bit, you know, and that could be what leads to the burnout when you're just basically treading water to try to make your ends meet, whatever that is. You know, we hear on Twitter and some of those social media channels like we shouldn't have to work this hard to live comfortably, right? And comfortably is subjective. My comfortable is probably different than most comfortable, or you know, anybody else there. But I think there's some truth to that. I think that the amount of time and effort we put into our education, and then the time and effort that we put into our patients, our lives, our jobs, you know, one could make the argument that we're working a lot harder than we should be. Um, so
So, do you think some of us who are succeeding in the profession because physical therapy has created millionaires and multimillionaires, and you know, some people can be flashy and show things on social media, portray a picture, and someone gets into it and they realize, like, look, why am I struggling to get to this point? And you see a lot of older therapists who've been in the profession for over a decade switching to another career, or just quitting altogether. And you're wondering, are we approaching a shortage soon?
I don't think we're approaching a shortage. I mean, I know that we have certain, again, Todd, who was a past guest of ours, might be able to better speak on this as a
Hmm.
faculty member, but there's a Apple, and you hear about all the PS stuff and the available spots and how big these class sizes are. And people are still getting waitlisted and denied. And so I think we're going to have a shortage. But I think what we may end up having is a lot of shocked individuals. I still think that the students in PT school now and those that are younger, high school, undergrad, who are thinking about joining our profession, either aren't fully aware or they're not being educated, whether that's educating themselves or these programs, educating their students and prospective students as to what is real life. Because when you read consumer reports and things of that nature, I mean, you can pull up articles and be like, oh, you know, a therapist comes out making 90 grand, right? But they don't go into the minutia of that, which is how are you making 90 grand? What setting are you in? Where do you live? Is that something that you want to do? Right? Because if you're having to work in a setting to make that 90 grand, and that's just the number that I pulled up thin air for all of our audience. I don't know that that's the average. Although I think I saw something recently. Somebody had posted or an article where the average is making 90 across the board. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But
Guys,
anyways, uh, you know, you have to understand what it is that you're giving up to get to that 90, right? Because, you know, I've told you before, I've looked at other avenues at recent times. And if I made a switch right now, yeah, I would have to take a hit financially, quality of life, what I'm able to do. For instance, anything in IT. I
mhm.
mean, you could go back and get a degree in some sort of information science technologies type stuff, work from home, work your way up, and within a couple of years, you're making 120, 130K, right? But is that what somebody wants to do? Some people do it because they want something different. Some people because they're forced to, and as the economy changes and your expenses change, again, depending on what phase of life you're in, um, it just depends. But then you got our good friend Nick, lives out in the middle of nowhere, and he's loving life, right?
Yep, it all depends on what
It's it,
happiness
it,
is.
it's just about perspective,
Yeah,
and Nick touches on this several times. I've seen on his tweets. He's like, for him, he wouldn't trade it for the world. He doesn't need 90. He doesn't need more than that. Would he love it? I'm sure he would. But he's happy. He's in a good place. He loves the patients that he works with. He loves the way his setup is. He's got two beautiful children, a beautiful wife. Life is good,
like you said,
right? So it isn't always about more money, more money, more money. Because as Biggie used to say, more money,
more money, more problems.
right? So it's real easy to get caught up and say, I need more money, I need more money, I need more money.
So
Again,
why did I know you diversified and went into real estate as well too? So why was that an option for you? And would you advise others to try to diversify their portfolio?
I would definitely advise to diversify. I mean, I've never been the type of person to likes to have all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. Right. Even when I'm doing business within PT, I've got different sources of potential income because at any given moment they go in a different direction by no fault of mine, and then I'm just kind of left hanging. Uh, Real estate at that time, I think I've said this before. Like I wanted my wife Lauren to do it.
Hmm.
She's a stay-at-home mom, which is a full-time job and then some, right? That to all the stay-at-home moms out there, salute. To the PT moms who do PT part-time, stay with their kids, God bless you, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, right? We all like to think of it as, oh, you're just home. They know just home, right? The kids need to be take the kids, pick up the kids, get dinner, the house. It's a lot. But anyways, I wanted her to do it because she at a point was where she needed some outside stimulus. Like she wanted to feel like productive, even though she's super productive. um, but she didn't, she wasn't sold on it. I saw it as a potential to make good money. Um, One of our neighbors owns a brokerage, so I had that kind of connection. Um, and the setup of it wasn't necessarily very little risk, more reward. So I studied, I took the test, got my license, did all that, did it right before COVID came. So that first year, I made on a very part-time basis, I made pretty good money. I made like 30, 40K for not that much work. But then COVID came and prices, as we are seeing now, shot up. That made it a lot harder. Definitely more time consuming. Because in real estate, you don't get paid until the deal closes, which is, if you get somebody under contract today, that's 30 to 45 days from now. And at any point in those 30 to 45 days, there's some things that can happen where the deal falls through. So depending on how much time you've put into spending with this client to get them under contract for the house, you walk away with nothing. But when the market got crazy, it was more time consuming with not enough of a guaranteed return on my investment. So I've kind of laid off of it for a while. Haven't really done much just because it's time consuming. It's time away from my family. And I've been busy with PT stuff. So but absolutely diversify. And you see it all the time. Cash PT. We've got one therapist. I can't remember his name right now, but he does a lot with investing, stock markets, and things of that nature. I
And
mean,
I would strongly advise people to do that as well too. It Yes, the stock market goes up, it goes down. but it's one sure long-term solution to making sure you have the money to get the freedom to do things you want to do later.
And you said the key word is freedom. You know, again, we work for money, 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 money. Money with that freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want, to be able to walk away whenever you want, um, and do the things that you want to do. Because, you know, obviously, the older I get, the longer I've been doing this, you realize that my time with my family, especially my kids, they're 6 and 3, so they're growing like weeds, and then time's going to be gone to where they don't want to hang out with dad anymore. They want to go be with their friends and do that. Get that time back. Um, so I've realized that I need to work towards that freedom. You know, a goal of mine is to be able to walk away when I'm 60. Uh, we'll see if I get there,
You want
but
to stay in the profession that long?
I don't necessarily want to, but that's kind of like my cutoff. You
Okay.
know, I don't want. I've seen my dad just retired, so they're in Colombia now.
Okay.
They sold their house in Miami. They're in Colombia, loving life. They live right off the beach, doing all kinds of stuff. And actually, we're going up there to see them for Thanksgiving. So we're definitely excited about going traveling.
So we'll take a break that week. We'll take a break that week, people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, everybody give thanks. Give thanks, especially us. Um, but I just, and I see my in-laws.
Hmm.
It's just not where I want to be. Like I want to get to a point where when I'm like, I'm done working, and God willing, by that time my kids will have their own families and maybe even have some grandkids, and I want to be around for that. I don't want to be working. No, I can't hang out with the grandkids, or we can't go on vacation, or we can't be around them because I have to work, or anything of the sort. So, like I said, it kind of goes hand in hand where I realized that time with family is much more valuable to me than any amount of money that I could make by working, seeing a couple patients extra and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's trying to figure out for you, it's, how you're going to go, but it's that freedom that we're all after. Um,
With that being said, when do you think it will be appropriate to enlighten students about diversifying and not always trading time for money?
I
Because
think they should know before.
frustration comes in.
Say it again for me.
I think that's where the biggest frustration comes in, trading time for money. Because in order to earn more or earn six figures, you generally have to see more patients. Well, depending on the setting. If you're salaried, it doesn't matter how many patients you see, you just get a salary. But in home health setting, if you're paid per visit, um, the more patients you see, the more money you get. But then again, that's you trading time for money. So when should we, like the older ones, mentor the younger ones on diversifying and ways in which they could faster improve their income than it took us to realize, hey, if I do this way, I can achieve this.
Well, I think initially, no matter how you approach it, you're going to have to trade time for money, because you have to get started, right? Like you've got to be able to get that bump to get you heading in the right direction. Um, but to answer your initial question, I think we need to get them from the moment they step foot into PT program, from day one as a student physical therapist, whether it's coming from the program or it's coming from outside sources like ourselves and other therapists, along to what Scott has talked about, and we'll talk about when we get him on one of our future episodes. It's figuring out those other avenues, those side hustles, right? To get you a little bit of extra income, get you started. Now, from there, it's getting yourself set up with a financial advisor, uh, laying like just like we lay out a plan of care for our patients, right? We assess them. We figure out what their problems are. They tell us what their problems are. They tell us what it is that they want to do. And then we figure out a way to help them accomplish that. It's no different with your finances, right? Now, you have to decide whether, again, and your situation is going to dictate which way you're going and how you're going. But I always tell my wife that the one thing that I will do for my boys is teach them financial, I'm going to say literacy just because it's the hot word, but teach them about finances. Teach them to start investing, to start setting themselves up so that by the time they turn 30 and 40, they can have freedom, right? And do whatever it is that they want to do with their lives. And I feel like that's something that I didn't get. My parents didn't know any better. So they did the best that they could with what they had. I learned stuff from them.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm learning as I go. And I've said, my boys, I will make sure that if there's only one thing that I accomplish with them, that it's the fact that they understand how money works and how to set up a plan so that you can have that freedom, because I feel strongly that that's the most important thing. It's, yeah, making money is great, but it's the freedom. It's the freedom to do what you want when you want, right? Because if our situation was different and we had the freedom, pretty sure we're probably not as involved in patient care as we are right now. Not because we don't enjoy it, but because we're at points in our lives where we want to go in a different direction, or we just want to pivot into doing something else. And that's kind of how this podcast started for us.
Most definitely. And being out recovering, the past 8 weeks has made me realize a lot of things as well too. And it's definitely like, yes, you do enjoy patient care, but you have a bigger impact, not directly treating patients, but making an impact on implementing policies and procedures that much more people can benefit from. So that's a direction that I know I'll definitely be heading in. So I'm not sure how much longer my direct patient care experience is gonna last, but time will tell.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, to answer your initial question, I think we need to start. We need to start from day one. And I'm not saying necessarily teaching, because we've had that discussion before. Like, where does business fall into the DPT curriculum? You don't have to have a formal business class to teach somebody and to educate somebody on how to set up their financial plan. That's not a business class. But we don't even get that. Like, I don't recall being in PT school and even somebody saying, hey, let's get you in touch with a planner or financial advisor so that you can figure out what it is that you need to be doing, right? Because at that time, you're spending money. You're taking out loans. Like, you've already stepped foot head first into adult life, real world. But we're waiting 3-4 years after the fact to even think about, hey, what do I need to do? How much money do I need? How much money do I need to do this? How do I get to my 5-year plan? How do I get to my 10-year plan? We don't discuss these things, right? And unless you're well off, fortunate, words you want to use, everybody's taking out loans. Everybody's cutting it tight, trying to get through PT school. And then we're like, oh, now I'm going to get a check. I'm finally going to be able to make some money. Then you make money, you're like, well, dang, I got to pay rent. I got to pay gas. I got to pay insurance. And that only leaves me this amount of money. How am I going to get to where I need to go or where I want to go? We got to have, we do plans for everything. It's what we do. We develop plans multiple times a day for our patients. We should be developing plans ourselves for our financial goals, so that we're on the right track. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have business classes. Uh, I feel like in PT school, but I think we should be educating our students to help them succeed, help them do the right things, because those are going to be the people that are better set up to succeed as clinicians. Because when you're not chasing paychecks, you can make a bigger impact. But unfortunately, some of our peers and they got to go do stuff that they probably don't want to do. And then when they're doing stuff half-assed with a bad attitude, guess who is the one that ends up paying the price? The patient,
Definitely.
right?
That's some great advice, Alex. You're definitely right. Financial literacy is what matters. Not everybody wants to get into business. Not everybody wants to take that risk, but um, being able to have a plan puts everyone in a better position to not only create wealth, and wealth is different from being rich. So you want to create something that does afford you the freedom to have the quote unquote soft life that so many millennials and Gen Zs desire. So um, listen to his advice. It's not too late to get one while you're in school as well. Too. You don't have to be making six figures to get a financial planner either. So get one.
No, and it's not. It's never too late to start. And every day that you're able to get a head start on it, man, like that stuff works. And I've been fortunate enough to do and had some people kind of guide me. So I'm heading in the right direction. I want to be more aggressive, and it's trying to balance uh, the wanting to be good financially and being smart decisions, but also enjoying life and living for the moment, because tomorrow's not promised, right? So
Yeah,
you have to try to balance, and easy task by any means.
I
Uh,
saw Dr. Lisa Vanu's post recently that she's trying to decide she has to save all you only live once, and you only live once, so enjoy time as it comes. So
yeah, no, it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's definitely made easier with a bit of a plan.
yeah.
Um, all right, so as we get close to wrapping up, I'm gonna give you Mo. I want to know
Mhm.
your good, your bad, and your ugly as far as what you've seen this year in our profession. And that could be something you've done, something you've seen, something you've experienced. But just to kind of go with the PT National PT Month is like, let's just kind of highlight some good, bad, and ugly, or the ugly can be something that you like to improve.
Well, the bad, since you and I are both home health clinicians, is the impending Medicare cuts coming in 2023, and also the increased documentation time for us.
My
So,
goodness, that new Oasis is unreal.
so I have a feeling we might have a lot of quiet quitting come November, December, or people might just wait until after Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then quit at the beginning of the year. But that's my bad. Again, I honestly don't know how much that will change because we have shared our opinions with CMS. We're fighting on Capitol Hill, but it seems like almost every year or every other year there's cuts in reimbursement, and it's not just Medicare alone; it's private insurances. So another not so good, ugly that I like to see improved, and it's something that I know my colleagues, APTA Maryland, is working on, is the Fair Copay Act. Um, Copays are too high for a lot of people, and they can't afford to come to physical therapy because we are deemed as a specialty. So I honestly do believe, since we are primary movement clinicians, we should be treated as such so people can pay low copays versus the $30, $40, $60 that they have to pay per visit. And long term, that's gonna actually deny a lot of people access to physical therapy, and that's not the direction we want to go into. The good, I mean, a lot of increased efforts when it comes to DEI initiatives. Maybe it's the crowd that I associate with or the people on my timeline, but that means I'm doing something good and I'm amongst good people. So I like to see that, and being more involved in the national chapter and the Maryland chapter home health academy as well too has definitely opened up my eyes to how things work. Um, at first, it was easy, as I said, to criticize and say things and say they're not doing stuff, but they're actually people trying to do some heavy lifting behind the scenes, and we tend not to give them enough credit for it. So,
Awesome. That's some
yeah.
good stuff. Some real good stuff. Um, well, I'm assuming you want me to answer the same.
Yeah.
So I'll start. I'll start with the good. For me, the good that is I like the fire. I like the fire that I'm seeing from some of the younger clinicians. Fire that I'm seeing from established veteran clinicians. Um, it's nice to see that just kind of sit here and kind of let some of these circumstances just kind of swallow us up, so to speak, right? So I definitely like that we've got people on many different fronts, from the, inclusion front, from the, the LGQBT community, and how that fire is there to open up and give more access, not only from a patient standpoint, but from a clinician standpoint, and all these initiatives that have been coming out. I mean, not only this year, but just kind of highlighting more this. So I'm definitely excited by that because, again, I think that we're at a pivotal point, and I think we have a huge opportunity to really make a big impact and kind of cement ourselves as a top tier profession in the healthcare world, and how we make an impact on people's lives, and having ability to get to that, those different areas is going to allow us to do that. So that's my good. My bad, I think is, we touched on it today. It's the return on investment, for just getting into the profession, right? I think that the price of admission is a bit steep, compared to what we're able to make when we come out of school. What the solution is, of the sort, man, I'm not smart enough to even have an idea of how we fix that. But I do think it's a problem, and I think that it's going to continue to be a problem. Right now, it seems to be too big of a problem because we have a ton of applicants and stuff that wants to get into these programs. But you mentioned before a potential shortage. Who knows? That could be real life. If people start to realize, hey, I'm spending a lot of money to not make as much money as I thought. So that to me is the bad, because that can kind of dictate how we either rise or fall, as a profession.
And
And
also,
then,
uh, sorry to interject.
no, no,
Since you said we talked about the shortage. There are a lot of outpatient clinics complaining about staff shortage. Um, but we're seeing, on the other hand, when you create a culture that people want to example, we have to perform. You're gonna find people. They're gonna choose you, but you have to create a culture and show that culture. And people are gonna get excited about it. So that's a business tip. And I know Josh created a business Facebook page. So join on Facebook, follow him on Twitter. He has great business advice and he's very easy to talk to. He breaks it down like ABC.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Alex.
Shout out to him, man. He's killing it. He's very innovative. Sign out for him. Sign out for him, and it's awesome to see. Like he is one of those people that I'm fired up about because he's out there doing, changing. He just got their approval for their sports residency. Like, it's real easy for somebody to say, you know what, man, I've established all these clinics. I've got multiple clinics. I don't need to push myself. I don't need to push my company. I don't need to do anything. I can just sit on this and be just fine. But he hasn't done that. Uh, he's putting residency and all these other things going on, man. So salute to him because that's what we need. We need more people like him to kind of keep pushing us. And then I guess my things I see improve. Uh, I'd like to see how we just interact amongst each other improve. I'd like to be more united, and that does not mean that we have to agree. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, as we had on our episode with Victor, uh, we can come from different points and still find some common ground to get to where we want to go, right? But I feel like with the environment that we've been in the last several years, it's kind of been made black and white, and some may argue that that's the way it's been made or that's the way that it needs to be. But I just think that within our profession, we can come together and work together to get us to where we need to be, to get us to that big boy table, as I always say. Get us out of the kiddie table, get us to the big boy table. But I think we have to work together. I think we have to come together and try to elevate the profession. But a lot of times we're stuck in our own ways and just not communicating effectively. So that's what my better. And again, shout out to Victor. Check that episode out if you didn't, because it was a good one. It was a great conversation with him. And again, he's somebody that's often seen as kind of on the other side, so to speak. But through our conversation, we found that we have a lot in common. And it's those types of conversations. Say it again.
Definitely true.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a very pleasant episode, and congrats, Victor. I know you're gonna have your hands full and a few sleepless nights. So
Yeah. So, well, I think that'll kind of wrap up this episode. Again, everybody, thank you very much for the support. Means a lot
right.
to us, friends, family. As we get into the holiday season, let them know about the Alex and Mo show. Have them, extra catch up on some episodes and stuff like that. Happy Physical Therapy Month to all of our physical therapists, friends, colleagues, peers. We appreciate you. Keep grinding, because we're going to need all of you to help us get to where we want to go, both as a profession and how, on our show here, we definitely have big goals, big aspirations for what we want to do here and how we want to share this space with the rest of our profession. So as always, thank you. Subscribe.
Peace. All right, go Dallas. Beat the Eagles.
Big game Sunday. Big game.
Man, I can't believe I'm supporting you guys.
All right. Listen, I just got to enjoy it right now because historically, in a couple months, they're going to break my. Hoping this time is different.
Oh, man. That's crazy. What? I hope this season is different for you guys.
I sure too. All right, you guys have a good one.
Good night.